All right, welcome everybody. My name is Kathy Herring-Hayashi. I'm the IEEE Director for Region 6, and I'm here with Matt Francis, who is the IEEE Director for Region 5. And I also want to acknowledge Arthur here on the phone. Thank you so much for all your work and coordination. It really is, thank you so much. We're here today because we are within Region 6, one of the things that we want to do is to make sure that we celebrate those things that happen in our region, the industries that make up the region. And in addition, there have been some other events such as SIGGRAPH and other events that Pixar has been involved in, and that is in Region 5. So Region 5 and Region 6 together, Matt and I are here today to help sponsor, to show you a little bit about a very special event coming up called the Pixar Renderman Challenge. And so today we have some very special guests who will be talking more about that. But before we go, I'd like to talk a little bit about IEEE and Pixar. Now, in March of 2023, through the IEEE Milestone Program, we were able to give the University of Utah a milestone to celebrate the amazing amount of research in computer graphics that occurred there throughout the years of 1965 and 78 and still continues today. And through that milestone, you'll see the amazing people in this picture. And it was just an amazing event to bring them back together after all these years and celebrate their work and honor them for all the things that they have done in the field of computer graphics. And also later in that year, we were able to go to Emeryville in order to meet with the developers of an amazing piece of software called Renderman. And this Renderman software, it revolutionized the rendering of animations, and we were able to celebrate the Renderman's their contributions into the industry and also the many technical advancements they have made in computer animation and 3D and visual effects. So this milestone, you'll see both of them in the middle of the screen here. They're in front of the Pixar Animation Studios in Emeryville. And the one on the bottom is the one from the University of Utah celebrating the computer graphics. And the one on top is celebrating Renderman. So we hope that you're ever in the area of Oakland or Emeryville, in that area, please stop by and see these amazing milestones and tributes to the technology that is being developed here at Pixar. We're also at this event as well. We're able to get a lot of the people that have worked and developed on Renderman both previously and today together, and having them to tell their stories and to tell about the amazing work that goes into Renderman. There's also a piece with Renderman that it also, in addition to the software, they also at the very beginning had made some very important pieces of hardware to help with the animation. And within IEEE, I can say that a lot of things that this group did impacted not only computer graphics and animation, but I happen to be in the semiconductor industry, and we always looked to the animation and industries to see what we can do to support our workflows as well. So for example, in semiconductors, we had to deal with large amounts of data, which animation did as well, tight deadlines, which they have very strict deadlines, and working with their developers around the world. And so we often shared how processes and how things are done. And so it's not only just the software and the hardware, but the best practices that were used by these have affected many in the technology industries. And here is the day that we visited the Pixar studios. And also up in front here, you'll see the teapots. And the teapots were part of in the University of Utah in the initial rendering of computer graphics. The teapot was one of the first ones that allowed it to show off some of the characteristics of the software. For example, the shading and the rotations and the way that they were architected. So we can talk a little bit later more about the teapots, but that was the teapot that you saw on the video that Matt took one of these teapots over to IEEE headquarters, and that is one of the collection for the Renderman collection of teapots. So today, we're very excited to have one of the computer graphics generalists here at Pixar, and he's going to be talking about the Pixar Renderman Challenge. IEEE is honored, very honored, to be a theme sponsor in scientific technology and computers for this Renderman Challenge for 2024. It's a competition that Leif will be telling you a little bit more about. Leif has over a decade of experience and has dedicated his career to refining Renderman and ensuring it remains at the forefront of computer technology. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce from Pixar Animation Studios, Leif Pedersen. Thank you, Leif.
Thank you. Thanks, Kathy, for the nice intro. Let's see if my technical woes don't happen again, but we'll see.
Yeah, Kelsey's doing a couple things. I sent her notes on.
Can you guys see that?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Leif, as Kathy was saying, and I'm with Pixar's Renderman team. I have a background in television and commercials for over a decade, and I've been with Pixar about 8 years now. One of the things I do is within my TD and marketing expertise is kind of reach out to the community often. And our biggest push is the Renderman Art Challenge, and I can't wait to tell you guys a little bit more about that. I think before we start talking about the Renderman Art Challenge, we should really understand a little bit about Renderman in general and rendering. And I think the best way to do that is to look at the Renderman showreel, which will really allow everyone to understand the far reaches of Renderman and the visual effects and animation industry. So here we go. As you can see there are far-reaching kind of aspects to Renderman, you know, from game cinematics to movies, to animations, commercials, children's, episodic. You know, we really reach to all kinds of industries out there. Everyone needs some great pixels. The story started in the 80s, all the way back in 1988 with Renderman being first commercial product, although we were using it internally for rendering commercials actually before that. And it really started to take off, of course, with Terminator 2, The Abyss, and the epic Jurassic Park. It really took the industry by storm by being able to render things that were impossible, you know, motion blur, depth of field, basically camera and lens effects that were before needed to be done by filming and animatronic, you know. So From there, we developed, of course, technologies like subsurface scattering and FIR, things that are pretty ubiquitous now in the industry, came from the pioneer days of Renderman. And the render has been rewritten many times over at this point, from Reyes to a hybrid architecture to the RIS framework, and now with XPU, which is a brand new render that we've written from the ground up to take advantage of your CPU and your GPU. And this brings us to the latest version of Renderman, version 26. That's a lot of versions, and we're really super lucky to be in this journey of completely transitioning the render to something a lot more modern and to take advantage of the new computing resources out there. Of course, it's not only for the big studios. You know, you can use it yourself. There's a non-commercial version of Renderman that's completely free, and there's no watermark, no watermarks, no obstruction at all for you to learn Renderman except the stylized looks toolset, but everything else is completely functional. And if you have a software like Blender, which is open source, you can actually play with that, which gives you a complete, free ride to getting as creative as possible with real life Pixar tools. And that can be a lot sometimes. So the art challenges are here to kind of bridge that gap and give the community a way to learn Renderman in a hand hold, like holding your hand and helping you through the process of learning it. We have education and tutorials, of course, and video fundamentals and all kinds of fun stuff for you to learn. But this is an amazing way for you to get Pixar feedback, build a portfolio, and win some really amazing prizes that we'll see in a second. The artists do some pretty amazing work. If you go in there and you look at our past entries, these are hundreds of hours that people are pouring their hearts into some really, really brilliant cinematic takes on their storytelling, thanks to Renderman. And their diverse experience, I mean, they come from all over the world. They bring a lot of unique and interesting cultural kind of ties to their artwork. Really wonderful, building this diverse community in Discord, which we'll see in a second. And of course, it's developing, your career. If you learn Renderman, which is a production render, and you build an amazing portfolio piece, now you have something, an inspiration, a calling card to show people and to build and develop your career. Two examples are Luke and Jeremy, who, one's a winner and one's a finalist of the art challenge. And that was a big stepping stone for them to eventually get hired at Pixar. And we have other amazing examples of people that are at Netflix, MPC, and many other studios, actually, that started in the art challenges. This is our 11th art challenge, by the way. We started in 2017, and now we're making it a longer challenge instead of shorter and in random bursts. We're really going all out and finding amazing sponsors to make it worthwhile for the artist to have an entire 3 months window. And so far, we've given over $500,000 in prizes throughout all these challenges. Our current theme, like Kathy was saying, is compute, which is inspired by the IEEE award that we got for pioneering work in Renderman inception, basically back in the 80s. As you guys saw, Renderman changed the scene in visual effects and animation, and we were super lucky to witness this amazing prize, and we wear it as a badge of honor in front of our entrance at Pixar, like Kathy was suggesting. So this theme was super interesting because it really embodies the spirit of Ed Campbell when he was saying in his talk there in the award show that compute is not only a thing that is an abstract thing that helps you push data out. It's really, you can really think about it as science fiction. You can look at it in the future by counting on certain rules, right? Like Moore's law and Blind's law, things that really allow you to look at exponential growth in computing 5-10 years down the line. And you can build code that maybe isn't very good now, but will be when the compute resources are available, like literally writing for the future. And that's what Renderman was. They wrote Renderman for the future. And with that, we've come up with this theme of SciTech, and people are going to get to do a PBR render, which is a photorealistic render, and showcase their shading lighting to create something pretty amazing. And of course, there's some really good motivation here. You know, the challenge prizes are pretty awesome, and that's thanks to our amazing sponsors. To exemplify one of those is our first place. We're giving away a Dell mobile position workstation. It's $16,000 of compute power that people will be able to access once they win. SenseLab Pens display, you know, this is the same stuff that we use at Pixar. Like we actually, you know, use ZBrush and Mari, and we use tablets very much similar to the SenseLab Pen displays to get in there and illustrate on our models and texture things. Of course, software can be very expensive, and we have Foundry Collective and Houdini and SpeedTree, which can sometimes be barriers for new artists, so they can invest their time here and potentially win some really amazing industry-leading software. And education continues after the Art Challenge. So we're giving away also an FX PhD premium membership and ranch computing credits so that they can learn and also spend computing power on the cloud as well. And of course, we send them some extra goodies as well, including some Renderman walking teapots. And for those of you that don't know, they're some pretty cool teapots. They're like our calling card at Renderman, developed by Dylan Sisson, and they have a price on them. I put priceless here, but if you check on eBay, they're worth your while. Like we don't sell them anywhere. We just give them away at SIGGRAPH at times, and they're some pretty cool stuff. So there's a lot more to win than just computers. So after all that explanation, what does a winning entry look like? You know, I'm putting in a bunch of hours here, and I really want to make this worth my while to see if I can win. Well, behold the anatomy of a winning entry. It's the merging of technology and story, basically. So you have to, you know, use your technology and your aesthetic and storytelling prowess to come up with something beautiful. This is our very first winner of the Art Challenge. It's Everything in the Kitchen Sink by Fabio. And Fabio ended up being this took him on a path, whole new creative path in his life. And he went from Brazil to becoming a Netflix art director and now resides in Canada. Jeremy, who's now at Pixar, submitted this wonderful piece of storytelling where, yes, it is a gorgeous castle in the snow. But if you start looking a little closer, you'll see bloodstains on the floor, you know, steps of a horse going somewhere. You can see storytelling, action. There's more, you know, to the image as you look in. Another wonderful winning submission by Michael here for the NASA Art Challenge. You know, there's a beautiful framing. It's a very dynamic story and horror-based, super interesting. This is the last winner from the Lost Things Art Challenge. And this is a super interesting take because they took it completely in a surreal way after given a very simple kind of dormitory, you know, assets. And they really kind of went all out and took it out of that scope into something a lot more dynamic and interesting. So how does the SciTech Art Challenge work particularly? Usually we give you guys like Pixar assets and things like that. This time around, we actually asked our sponsors to help us out, and they gave us some super interesting externals and internals of their computer chips and their GPUs and fans and, you know, transistors and all kinds of things. And Pixar was amazing enough to approve that we model something inspired in the Pixar image computer. So we're also including that. And people are already using, if you participate in the challenge now, people are already using like the screen as a head for a robot, and they're taking the keys apart and creating worlds with them. So, you know, it's impossible to see where people will take these assets and get creative. So go in there and check it out. So in a practical perspective, how does the challenge work? Well, it is very similar to a community online thread, right? You join the challenges by going to a Discord. And in Discord, we have a way to submit a challenge, and people are super friendly on our Discord is not like other Discord, which can be a little weird and toxic. Our community is super fun. It's full of people that want to help you, that have great ideas, that want to solve your problems. It's a great community. So there you would build basically what we call a work in progress thread, which looks something like this, which you start, this is maybe halfway, but this person, Daniel Meal, started a work in progress thread, and this is the Hydra viewport and Solaris and Houdini. And he started building from these assets all this little world in this attic, and eventually sharing what he would do, his shading networks, how he would use USD workflows, which is, again, Pixar-centric in our new Llama shaders, for example. And then people would give him feedback, and he would share his experiences. And he came up with this brilliant piece of work here that won second place, and won some really fantastic prizes. But most importantly, he learned a whole new piece of software that he wasn't familiar with. So that's a lot, right? I mean, it's learning new things. It's a lot to fit in. It's a busy life. We have our family to take care of, work, studies, all kinds of things. So we can realize that can be a little bit too much to do on your own. So, thanks to Kathy and Dr. Matt, we have 2 new judges in our panel. And, a lot of us are very active during the challenge, and we go in there and we help them, and we guide them, we art direct them, we guide them in the right place, so they can create something amazing that they can feel proud of. We also give them video feedback sessions, which will be starting soon, and really great cloud rendering resources, courtesy of Ranch Computing on the front end, with you're interacting, and AWS will be giving the art challenges some amazing epic cores on the cloud, so they can actually submit their artwork in the last couple of weeks of the challenge and for free. So it's a really great resource. So why can't they just render locally? Well, a lot of them can. A lot of them will just render for half an hour, or whatever, overnight, and that might be okay. But this is a great example because Jamal he's a German artist, a student, and he's also a musician. So he wanted to participate in the art challenge, but when he wanted to participate, he was doing music in Japan, and he was traveling with the band, and he had a little tiny laptop, and he was literally working on his art challenge scene, the submission, every day on a moving train through Japan on a tiny laptop. And of course, that's very isolating. You're full of musicians, which is a wonderful creative thing, but you're not surrounded by other computer graphic artists. And you have a tiny laptop, not enough computing resources. So the cloud was really the only way he was able to get his work done. And that was an amazing achievement. And he won, I think, second place for this. We reach out in social media. We share the amazing work of the art challengers. We communicate, their useful resources and tutorial, and latest entries, and what's happening in the world of Renderman movies and shows, etc. So we're on X, we're on Instagram and Facebook. So reach out to us, send us a message, and cool work that people are doing that maybe we've missed. So with that, I want to say thank you for coming. We're going to open it up for Q&A. This QR code will take you to the main challenge page, but it should be easy to navigate, I think, if you simply go to our Renderman website, renderman.pixar.com, and you can find all about the art challenges there. So thank you so much for coming. We'll open it up for a Q&A now.
Wow, thank you so very much. And that's a great presentation. I hope that you're all inspired to go sign up for the Renderman Challenge. They'll put some questions in the chat. So if you have any questions, just put them in the chat right there, and we'll be able to ask them. I did want to say that I did download Renderman, and I just thought it was very easy to download. I brought it up, and there's instructions and there's tutorials. It was inviting, to say the least. It was first I was it's like I didn't know, but it was very good experience just to download all the.
I'm glad. Yeah, I mean, it's a piece of tech, right? And the tech can be as geeky as you want it, but we do make it reasonably accessible, hopefully, so that people can go in there and render their things. So yeah, and there's plenty of tutorials, and we're pretty responsive on, you know, on the internet. People can reach us, and we have Discord, right? Unofficially, people can go in there, be part of that community, post, you know, help, and our engineers will be there. So there's definitely ways of people to get in touch with us if they're not with a smooth experience.
Very cool. This is Brian Berg. Wow, that is so neat. Kathy Hayashi and Matt Francis, both of you are very involved with this. Just a little bit of background. I initiated the Renderman milestone, and the way it came to fruition, the recognition that Pixar gave to that was a remarkable thing when we had our dedication event last December. And I was looking back at my emails. Leif, you and I had a little bit of email conversation leading up to that, but wow, this is so cool. So hats off to you, Kathy. I guess you've really taken this bull by the horns and helping drive this effort. So thank you very much.
And thank you, Brian, for the recognitions for both Salt Lake City, the University of Utah, and for the Emeryville milestones. So impactful, so deserved, and thank you for your team for working to get those milestones there. Thank you, Brian.
Sure. And also just that image that was shown a little bit ago with the two plaques out front of Pixar should make note of the fact that one of those two plaques is for the work done at University of Utah, where Ed Catmull and many others got their initial training, and it actually recites the word Pixar because that was one of the many companies founded by University of Utah graduates. So it was so neat that Pixar put both of those plaques at the front entryway in a very prominent, beautiful position.
Yeah, and Jeremy, actually, one of the winners of the art challenge that I was speaking with about him there in the keynote, he also came from University of Utah. It just he's pumping out some really brilliant artists, you know, so and technicians from there. It's really great.
That's fantastic. You know, the location it's mounted at the University of Utah. It's right outside the engineering building, and it was our intent in that placement that, for example, new students, just freshmen coming to Utah, see that plaque, get inspired by it, and go on and do cool things. So, yeah.
Excellent. And we do have a question from Mike in LA, and he was wondering, is the challenge to make an animation or a still?
That's a very good question. I've actually had that a couple of times come up. I should probably do a little add that to the FAQ. It's a single image, and we do this because animation can be its own discipline. You know, it's a very specialized thing that usually escapes the realm of the more technical. And we've looked into maybe doing one in the future now that XPU is going to become more prominent and the GPU is a lot faster at rendering, where that might be really interesting, where we can provide an animation so you guys don't have to do anything, and then you can kind of render things around that. So, but the challenges so far are still image based. So you're telling a story very much like a painter is painting a painting. So.
Very good. Any other questions we have? We talked
Well, I was going to say I have one, which is, do you know offhand the youngest person that has won it?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, we don't capture age. Sometimes we have had challengers that are as young as 14 years old. And it is sometimes a time commitment that contradicts maybe the level of engagement that a 14-year-old can give something like this with school and everything else being a little bit too much. But we're seeing interest in high-end rendering and animation at a very young age. I mean, significantly younger than when I grew up, that's for sure. And it's because the entry point, right, to all these high-end technologies are significantly less technical now. Although you can still study OSL shading and C++ and API points and statistics.
Right.
The entry point for them is significantly lower, and Blender does an amazing job at bridging that gap because kids, you know, are learning it early. they're learning it for free, and now they can hook Renderman to that for free as well. And they have a whole little like pipeline in their home
Right.
that would have made Ed Camel jealous 30 years ago for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have any of the winners gone on to become Pixar employees?
Yeah, two of them. Luke Elwood became a shading artist, and Jeremy Hines is still there actually as one of the leads for the Lightspeed team, which deals with the most difficult of technical challenges right before it goes on the screen. And he has a really amazing merging of programmer and artist. Yeah, so that's always what they're looking for at Pixar, is that great blend between artistic side and technical side to people.
We have
But it
another.
doesn't stop there. You know, it doesn't stop there, by the way. Like we have, you know, people that put CG Image, people that have gone to MPC, DNEG, Netflix, so a lot of major studios. It's the art challenge is something that is going to catapult you to fame, but it will give you a platform where you can learn something as difficult as Renderman on the high end, with, you know, being guided, and that does make it a big impact on people, how they see the industry, where they see themselves during the pipeline of the industry, if they want to be more specialized on shading or lighting or rendering. And ultimately, it gives them a goal to reach, something to create like a beautiful piece that they can then use as a calling card. So it isn't a make me famous thing, but it's definitely a make me motivated thing, you know,
Right,
and have something amazing to kind of walk around with.
We have another question. Basically, are group entries permitted?
There's no group entries, and this is because we want to eliminate any bias to competitive advantages. And this is something we've explored for maybe doing like a little mini challenge at SIGGRAPH, right? And like having people in a room for 3 hours, and, you know, having a little mini challenge where people can like do a little group collaboration, maybe that could be a lot of fun. But unfortunately, without being able to track truly the intent and, you know, who got to do what, we try to eliminate the bias by having a work in progress thread that's an individual thread.
We have another question. So the challenge is to create an image from models or assets. Can you explain, for those of us that are not in computer graphics, the idea of assets and models versus a picture, and the advantages this gives for future animation of the still assets or other products?
That's a good question. Yeah. So an image is something that Renderman does. That is the only purpose of Renderman, is to create pixels from 3D data. So Renderman has all the algorithms that will look at all this 3D data, or what we call an asset, is a piece of data that's in 3D that already has texturing, potentially shading included. So you can see this, for example, if you put if you've ever played with VR glasses, or, you know, you can, or even like if you're buying an Amazon has this little button where you can press on your phone of like, place this chair in my space, you know, and a little chair pops up and you can be like, oh, okay, this is the reasonable size. That's an asset, right? That's literally a piece of model that has been put somewhere in Apple devices in USD format that you can touch and move around. We provide those assets for the art challenge. So we're providing something that's similar to the Pixar image computer, GPUs and CPUs and transistors, and you get to grab these assets in 3D, right? Position them, place them like you would a miniature set, imagine, right? Like you're building a little toy set, and then you're making a camera with your iPhone and you're filming the set. That's the storytelling that we expect. Instead of the real life with clay and colors, you would do this in a 3D application like Blender, Maya, Katana, or Houdini. If you're a beginner, we suggest Blender. It's a really great tool and it's free. And then at that point, instead of hitting the take picture snapshot, you basically build your whole scene and you press the render button, which is like take a picture, right? And then RenderMan comes up with all these millions of lines of code and algorithms to do light transport and make this beautiful image out of that. I'm skipping a lot of probably geekier sides of it, but that's the layman version of what you would expect to do as an art challenger.
Well, it seems like the first step is to go to the website and download, right?
The first step is probably get a 3D app going. Basically, if you've never had a play with a 3D application before, go and download Blender. So just do a little search for Blender and download that to your computer. Make sure you can run that, right? That you have what you need in terms of hardware power. And then once you feel comfortable with that, then download RenderMan. And it'll hook to that, and then it'll give you the Pixar tool set, basically, that we're sharing.
Let's see. Another question is, can the image submitted itself be 3D? For example, looks 2D on paper, but looks 3D when viewed in VR glasses or something.
So that is a secondary step, spatial computing, basically. We don't, the submitted image doesn't have to be in spatial computing, and probably doesn't, we wouldn't accept that as an advantage. So you would submit a 2D image in a cinematic 16:9 format, basically. At the end of the day, the judges are going to sit in a theater at Pixar, and we're going to be looking at the entries in the theater like we would our own movies. So we're going to need 2D images. Now, if for your own sake, you want to take it a step further afterwards and create some really cool spatial computing images from your entry and share it with the world, that sounds like a lot of fun, but it's not going to be a necessity for the art challenge.
Sounds good. Are there any other questions from people online? So the community edition is available. Oh, Matt, did you have a question?
No.
Okay. So the community edition is available to everyone online. And so if you use the community edition and I use Blender, basically it's your time and your time, what I like to say, your time, your energy, and your enthusiasm, correct?
Yeah.
Well, I hope
The
many
willingness
people.
to learn. I mean, the willingness to learn, right? It's the art challenges. You can take it as a personal challenge. Maybe the challenge for you is not submitting a winning entry, but is learning about 3D. And, you know, we have artists that will help you and guide you through the installation process, through doing your very first shader, you know, doing your very first render. And so take it as a small step towards something important in the field, or maybe you just want to have fun.
I think it's still something very important to have been a part of this process. And if you submit to the RenderMan Challenge, I think that's a wonderful achievement just there.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the link. Let me see here, chat. This is the link for the RenderMan product, and there you'll be able to see the RenderMan show reel, learn more about RenderMan, etc. So
yeah. One person is asking, can you provide a link to the video that you showed so that we could see it later with the audio?
That's the link I just showed for the
that one.
product page.
Okay.
You'll see the show reel there. If you
Oh,
go
I
to
see.
the Pixar page that's in the navigation, you can actually learn a little bit about RenderMan from the folks at Wired. They did a really great interview with Ed Campbell some years back that really breaks down RenderMan, its used and its history. So that's also a really great video to watch.
All right, thank you. I apologize, I misunderstood. Thank you very much. The link's right there. All right, and then someone's asking about what we can do on Discord. Can we talk about things that we're stuck with? So someone mentioned earlier a little bit about group presentation, but it's not, you still can work in Discord at least to, you know, work with others to get through things. Is that correct?
So Discord, we use it as a unofficial, non-commercial help tool. And we also use it for the art challenges, but when we don't have an art challenge active, including, now they overlap, it is very much a support tool for folks. So you have a general chat, you can share your artwork, you can ask for opinions on what you should do in your artwork, how to take something further. Maybe you're stuck about, with something, installation, or with a shader, something's not working for you, or you're confused. All of those questions are not too basic. So you can go in there and feel at home. People are super cool and friendly. So
I think you mentioned it was in your video as well, is that although it's used at Pixar, it's also used at many other places throughout to make animations, right? So
that's
they
right.
might be having issues as well.
Our sister studio, ILM, here in Presidio in San Francisco, of course, famous for their work on Star Wars and other pioneering work, right? They continue to do amazing work. And we're very much in weekly contact with them about technology. We have technology from ILM, from Industrial Light and Magic, inside of Renderman. Their entire shading pipeline, which is called Llama, is actually in Renderman, and you can only use it through Renderman. So if you use Renderman, you're not only using Pixar tech, you're using ILM tech. We also have like machine learning denoising, because images that are path traced create noise as they resolve into a beautiful picture. The sooner you can stop that noise, the sooner you can stop the processing from happening, and you can look at a frame. And the Disney folks in Zurich, from their research department, made this amazing denoising tool that's ML based, also unique to Renderman, and also battle tested basically and trained on Pixar and Disney data from our movies. So there's a lot of wins that we get from partnering with the bigger studios and making them a success. Yeah.
That's great. And you mentioned real lightly there about using some of the advanced machine learning or techniques, but I think that you, when I talked to you earlier, had a good perspective on when that could be used and should be used and when it shouldn't be used, correct? When to support innovation.
Yeah, like for example, in the RenderMan challenge, you really can't use AI in the way that people are using it now, because it's trained on models that aren't really copyright approved, right? So, you can go in there in Midjourney and type robot in the desert, and C3PO will come up. We don't want that. But you can use AI to maybe help your concept art. Maybe you're a very technical person and you're not, a great draftsman or illustrator, and you want to help your ideas through what some call AI-ideation, right? Ideation. And you can take that as a stepping stone, maybe to somewhere where you can be creative, right? There are some AI programs that actually allow you to input your own concept art, and it'll give you something reasonable from there. And you can use this to kind of block out lighting, or maybe there's a couple of cameras that you're interested in that'll take you somewhere. But eventually, when you get to 3D, you're going to have to start from scratch, and you're going to have to really create your own personal creative vision. Renderman does use AI in quotes, or machine learning, but we train it for our denoising. Basically, when the Renderman is processing the image, it creates a bunch of noise, and our ML denoiser basically is trained on our own Pixar and Disney data, and it guesses when the noise should stop. And what that allows is to really take down render times significantly. There is no other piece of machine learning in Renderman per se, but it is something we're exploring, seeing how we can train models with our own copyrighted data on a closed black box, so that people can take advantage of maybe tools in the future that might help them press a button and create shader networks for car paint, or asphalt or whatever, because we've trained it on Pixar, what Pixar thinks asphalt is,
Right.
So maybe that's a direction that we might take things. We're very much in an exploration phase right now.
Right, and definitely the inputs will stay with the artist and those
Yeah.
that have the ideas, but we use it later on for efficiency with those things that you know, just bring in the compute time, not in the imagination.
Exactly.
All right. Okay, another question. Do they get to use Houdini Indie for free? I'm not sure what that is, so I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, the side effects folks, we work with them super closely. They're amazing. They create this wonderful 3D application called Houdini. And it has this really great app called Solaris inside, which is all USD based. And for those of you who don't know what USD is Pixar's universal scene description. So it can describe a model or an asset down to, you know, its type of hat or variants of things, geometric complexity, lights, scene data, all kinds of things. And SciTech has built that software from the ground up with a very Pixar-centric mentality. And yes, they offer us a 2-month trial of their software for anyone participating in the Art Challenge. And you can find the Art Challenge link, which I'll put here. And then you'll find that in the resources section of the Art Challenge. It might take a couple of days to respond. They have a long list of folks that want a free version, but they'll definitely respond and give you a license for 2 months. I think you can actually renew that license for another 2 months if you find that you need more time. Although we have 50 days left for the challenge, which is a ton of time, but definitely should be within that 2-month period that they give you.
Very good. If there are any more questions? All right. If there's no further questions, I would like to, you know, for all IEEE members, please make sure that those in your sections, areas, societies, and chapters, please make sure that they're aware of this amazing opportunity with the Renderman Challenge, focusing on IEEE SciTech. And I think it'd just be a great opportunity to learn something new and a great experience to be a part of this. So still time, and I'll, you know, go to the links that we have here on the side and get started. Matt, do you have anything that you want to say to?
No, I wanted to thank Leif for working with us to make this happen. This between IEEE and Pixar, and bringing the opportunity to us to celebrate. We're in the 76th anniversary of the transistor, to celebrate what we're able to use transistors to do now, to make things as refined as this now. And so I echo what Kathy says about, you know, share this, please, everybody, share the opportunity. And then and also, again, thank you, Brian, and many volunteers that got us to this point through all the work that we do to recognize critical technologies that have really changed the world through the Milestone program. This is another one of those awesome side effects of that. And it's a link in a chain. Think of all the things that are going to happen after this Renderman, right? Because of the people we're making aware of the community that we build here in IEEE. So thank you every volunteer here on the call. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you very much. Very kind words. Thanks, everybody.
Right.
Yeah, I got to echo that. I mean, thank you guys for providing a venue for us to highlight the most amazing parts of compute, right? Which is to make beautiful things with it. You know, transistor on its own,
Yep.
It's not that helpful without the creative minds of how to use that compute power. And we really are thankful for you guys to highlight that and award that Pioneering Award. Has been a wonderful thing for Pixar to understand a little bit about their history and the impact that they've had with this kind of, you know, momentous occasion. So I hope that the Art Challenge can be a good venue to highlight that.
Thank you very much. And thank you for everyone that attended today's session. And we'll see you in the Renderman Discord channel.
Yes.
See you later.
Thank you.
Cheers.